My name is Kate. I am the Director of Accounting and Operations here at Revv. Our company is a Series A SaaS startup. Being the Director of Accounting and Operations, I not only oversee the accounting function, but all of those kind of operations, FinOp, HR, employee onboarding and offboarding, all the things that like a levy professional would help with. So that's how I've had the positive experience of working with Levy. So I kind of mentioned in my role, I am a bit of a generalist. Like I'm overseeing a lot of the financial reporting and accounting functions, which butts up against a lot of operations FinOps items. And I definitely have the ability to oversee and give feedback to some of these operations functions. Like AP is a great example, but I don't necessarily have the time to do all of the tracking and project management and even like identifying bite-sized pieces of the overall process to kind of take off and improve upon. So Levy Robbie has really helped with kind of alleviating that, oh my gosh, I have so many things on my plate. I don't know whenever I'm going to get to it, and actually like breaking off into separate little projects, managing those, and then looping me in when he needs like my feedback or approval or, just somebody else to bounce ideas off of. And I also do that vice versa as well. So if I'm, thinking about a project, I also have a resource to say, oh, what do you think about this? Because, this consultant has been at, multiple companies establishing best practices. It's, even if I'm the end decision maker, I definitely appreciate that opinion. I'd say like a clean, like around 8 hours, maybe 6 hours a day. Like, yeah, I'd say definitely like at least 6 hours, because all of that time kind of also spent like switching between, okay, I'm in QuickBooks and I'm doing the accounting thing now. Oh, okay, now I have to switch and do this. Like operations, except for setting up processes and like organization, it is a lot of like, okay, we need to do this item. Oh, we need to do this item now. So I don't know if like the aggregate of all the tasks is necessarily six, but it does provide me with definitely like 6 hours of being able to focus on accounting. And those are longer tasks where I have to have my head down and like really think over things. And if I was constantly switching from that task to do all of the little operations things rather than just kind of checking in with Robbie, I would never get the accounting work done. My alternative would be I'm just, putting in like a 60 to 70 hour work week in the beginning to establish all the processes, and then having to hire once that's all done. So have like just like a super busy year, or, 6 months to a year, and then having to hire on a full-time employee that might be, a more junior level employee and not the most expensive person in the world, but it's still like a full-time salary with benefits. I actually worked at a previous startup and I entered at like the same time, and we did not have a tool like Levy, or a company, I guess, and consultants like Levy, because it is their people. It's not just a tool. But I just had to really roll up my sleeves and put in some pretty crazy hours to just say, this is how we're going to do AP, and this is how we're going to do some of our payroll functions. And then I brought someone in that I believe was paying like around probably near north or south of like 90K. So yeah, more saved work for me. And then I do think, if we modeled this out financially, it would be cheaper too. There needs to be a decision maker. There needs to be someone in a review function. I'm one of the people who's like, technology is not going to replace us all, because we always need some kind of person basically project managing. So even if you have a bunch of tools and softwares where you think that everything is kind of already taken care of, like we have Rippling, we have Guideline, we have Ramp. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's not things that or issues that need to be resolved and remediated within those platforms. I would say be careful about making that assumption because you're not going to know that you need help until you do. And until that crisis occurs, then you can just have someone who's basically project managing even, the organization of your Google Drive and or making sure that you've collected all of your W-9. I would say yes. I mentioned that I kind of worked in the opposite scenario. And even though I made it work and I really enjoyed like the hire that I ended up taking on, and I was able to rationalize paying a little bit more because he was doing like, accounting items too. But I did mention to my boss that I was very impressed by the work that was already done, like the groundwork that was already completed, because really like researching that and kind of making that list of everything that still needs to get done. Again, I mentioned like that ends up being like a late night task for me, and it really adds to my hours. And I feel like I'm able to just hop in and immediately contribute as like a decision maker, as someone that has information on the topic, and be able to rely upon the groundwork that has already been laid by Levy. I spoke to the controller of our venture capital firm recently, and he made a good point too. He said, "Look, keep the outsourced operations and accountants on for as long as possible, so that way you can be focused on like the more technical conversations, more strategic initiatives, instead of just kind of like doing the same thing over and over again, because that actually not only allows me to be more productive at my company, but it allows me to value add more, and it like furthers my career."